You are now tuned into Then Radio. If you enjoy our videos, we ask that you consider joining our Patreon to support our channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you never miss a new video. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and as always, thank you for watching.
The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. The makers of Grove's bromoquinine tablets bring you another adventure of Sherlock Holmes, with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. A cold is a miserable thing. A cold may become a dangerous thing. Even a so-called light cold can take a serious turn. Be prompt, be decisive in your treatment of a cold. At the very first sign of a cold, take Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets quickly check the symptoms of a cold, quickly relieve the distress of a cold. They give you speedy results, which are very important. Don't monkey around when you can get such a dependable preparation as Grove's bromoquinine tablets. And now, here we are again on our usual visit to Dr. Watson. He's waiting for us in his study, a cheerful blaze crackling on the hearth.
I'm very relieved to see you, Mr. Manning. Hasn't the weather been atrocious today? I was beginning to wonder if you'd be able to get here tonight through all this fog.
Yes, it certainly is what you Londoners call a regular pea souper.
Yes, indeed. It reminds me of the adventure of the missing submarine plans. A case that was solved in the underground.
Underground?
What you Americans call a subway.
Yes, but what has a solution in a subway got to do with a foggy night?
Well, you see, the affair started in weather exactly like this. It was the third week in November, the year 1895, to be exact. On Monday, a dense yellow fog had settled down upon London. On Thursday, it was still there, thicker and murkier than ever. At first, Holmes had turned his nervous energy to cross-indexing his huge reference books. But when, after pushing our breakfast chairs back for the fourth morning, we saw the greasy brown swirl still drifting past the windows, Holmes's patience snapped. Holmes, if you must pace around in circles, I wish you'd change directions now and then. You're making me dizzy.
Bah! It's inexcusable, Watson. Inexcusable. No initiative, no imagination. Nothing ever gets done.
If you're alluding to the inactivity in this last session of Parliament, my dear Holmes...
I'm not speaking of our lawmakers, Watson, but of our lawbreakers. The London criminal is certainly a dull fellow.
What makes you say that?
Well, look out of the window. Ideal weather for committing a crime. The criminal advances on his intended victim practically unseen. He pounces and disappears into thin air.
There have been numerous petty thefts, I believe.
Petty thefts, pickpockets, ragamuffins. What's the country coming to? Now, if I were a criminal, Watson...
Well, I, for one, would move to America.
Oh, hello. Mrs. Hudson's knocking. Excited. What's up, I wonder? Yes, Mrs. Hudson, what is it? Oh, a telegram for me.
Yes, sir.
Very well, thank you.
Oh, well, what's it say?
Oh, wait until I open it, can't you? Ah, dear me, what next? Most unusual, Watson, most unusual.
What's most unusual, Watson? What's it say?
Well, it's from my brother, Mycroft. You remember him. He helped us solve the case of the Greek interpreter. He's coming here.
Why not? What's so phenomenal about that?
Why not? Why not, indeed? It's as startling as it would be to meet a tram car coming down a country lane. Yes, now I come to think of it. Mycroft is rather like a tram car. His rails lead from his Pall Mall lodgings to the Diogenes Club in Whitehall. That's his circle. I wonder what upheaval could have derailed him.
Doesn't the telegram explain?
It says, must see you about Cadogan West, coming at once.
Cadogan West? Cadogan West? Why, that's the young chap who's found dead in the underground on Tuesday morning. I remember reading about it in the papers.
Oh?
The young man had apparently fallen out of a train and killed himself. He hadn't been robbed, and there was no reason to suspect violence. Quite an uninteresting case, if I remember correctly.
And yet? It's serious enough to cause Mycroft to alter his habits. No, Watson. This must be an extraordinary event. Do you recall any other facts about the affair?
Yes, I come to think of it, there was one unusual bit came out at the inquest. They were unable to ascertain at what point he entered the train, because his ticket was missing.
Strange. What articles were found on the body?
£2.15, I believe it was, a checkbook and... Oh, yes, 2 dress circle tickets for the Woolwich Theatre, dated for that evening.
Theatre tickets, eh? Then it wasn't suicide. A man doesn't procure theatre tickets for the evening on which he intends to end his life. Anything else?
A small packet of technical papers, I believe.
Technical papers? What kind of technical papers?
The newspapers didn't say.
As serious as that. What did the young man do? Where was he employed?
He was a clerk at Woolwich Arsenal.
Government employ. There we have it, Watson. British government, Woolwich Arsenal, technical papers. That's why Mycroft is involved in this affair.
I don't understand.
No, I suppose not. Watson, have I ever told you what Mycroft is?
Your brother, of course.
Oh, no, Watson. Do you have to be so dense? I mean, do you know what he does?
I seem to have some vague recollection that you once told me that he'd held some small office under the British government.
It would be more accurate to say, in a way, that he is the British government.
What?
His position is unique. He made it for himself. As the tidiest and most orderly brain of any man alive, with a great capacity for storing facts and giving them the proper interpretation. The conclusions of every government department are passed on to him. He's the central exchange, the clearinghouse. Again and again, his word has decided the national policy. He thinks of nothing else. Nothing else can lure him from his contemplations.
And yet he's coming here.
Yes, Jupiter is descending on us today.
What on earth can happen?
Watson, that sounds suspiciously like a bad pun. Here he is, if I'm not mistaken. To speak for himself. Come in. Hello, Mycroft. What's up? You look flustered.
Most annoying business, Sherlock, most annoying. You know how I dislike altering my habits. Extremely awkward for me to come away from the office, particularly with Siam in its present state. Oh, dear me.
Yeah, sit down, Mycroft, sit down. You know Watson, of course.
Yes, of course. I'm trying to find a chair that I can trust to hold me.
I'd better take the sofa. You certainly haven't got any thinner.
I've never seen the Prime Minister so upset. As for the Admiralty, it's buzzing like an upset beehive. You know anything about the case?
Watson's just been telling me what was in the newspapers. Just what were the technical papers found on the body?
Sherlock, for the love of heaven, not so loud. Those papers which the wretched youth had in his pocket were none other than the plans of the Bruce-Partington submarine.
Oh?
A submarine which will completely revolutionize naval warfare. The most important papers in our government archives. Under no circumstances could they be removed from the office. Even the chief constructor of the Navy was forced to go to Woolwich if he desired to consult them.
And yet we find them in the pockets of a dead junior clerk in the heart of London. Yeah, from an official point of view, it's deplorable, my dear Mycroft. Simply deplorable.
You may laugh, Sherlock, but this country won't be safe until they're recovered.
But I thought you said that they were found in the pocket of this chap, Cadogan West.
10 papers taken from Woolwich. 7 were found in the pockets of Cadogan West. 3 are still missing, the 3 essential ones. To recover those 3 papers is imperative. The peace of Europe depends on them.
Nice little problem, eh, Watson? Why did Cadogan West take the papers? How did he die? How did his body reach the place where it was found? And where are the missing papers?
Find the answer to those questions, Sherlock, and you'll have done your country an invaluable service.
Why don't you solve it yourself, Mycroft? I believe you could.
Possibly. But it's a question of digging out details. Give me the details, and I can give you the solution from an armchair. No, when it comes to running about and cross-questioning railway guards and lying on one's face with a lens to one's eye, no, that's not my métier.
Besides, your figure prevents your taking such an undignified position, eh? Very well. Leave that part of it to us, eh, Watson?
Right you are.
Good. I've got a cab waiting outside to take to the place where the body was found. I can give you the details on the way.
Now, Mycroft, who was the official guardian of these famous papers?
No less a personage than Sir James Walter, a gentleman who's grown grey in the service. His patriotism is beyond suspicion.
A bachelor, if I'm not mistaken. Lives with his brother.
Yes. He was at the house of Admiral Sinclair at Berkeley Square during the whole of the evening when this accident occurred. The Admiral vouches for him. He's one of the 2 who have the only keys to the safe.
And his key was with him all evening?
Right. His key, the key to the building, the key to the room.
Who was the man with the other key?
The senior clerk, Mr. Sidney Johnson. Man of 40, married, silent, morose, with an excellent service record.
Any alibi?
He, too, had his key with him and seems to have spent the evening playing a game of drafts with the green grocer around the corner from his lodgings. Of course, he has only the word of this green grocer to back him up.
Oh, come, my dear Mycroft. No class discriminations, please. The word of a greengrocer is often just as good as that of an admiral. What about Cadogan West?
He had a good reputation. A bit hot-headed, but straight and honest. At least, everyone thought so. He was next to Sidney Johnson at the office. His duties brought him into daily personal contact with the plans. No one else ever had the handling of them.
Oh, it's perfectly clear. He must have taken...
Ah, not so fast, Watson, not so fast. Who locked them up that night?
Mr. Sidney Johnson.
Ah, they were of value, commercially, I mean.
Oh, yes. There's no doubt that West could have got several thousands for them very easily.
And yet, only a small amount of money was found on the body.
Perhaps the buyer took it back after he'd murdered West.
What puzzles me is, how did West obtain possession of those papers? To do so, he must have had a false key.
Several false keys, Sherlock. He had to open the building and the room as well.
Oh, well. Several false keys, then. Let me see. Suppose West did take the papers and went into town. And on the way back to Woolwich, where he is hoping to replace the papers, he's killed and thrown from the train.
But the spot where the body was found is considerably past the station for London Bridge, which is the route to Woolwich.
It's interesting. Also, if young West did make an appointment with some foreign agent to sell the papers that night, why didn't he keep the evening clear? Why buy 2 theater tickets?
Exactly. Furthermore, he actually escorted his fiancée halfway there before he disappeared.
A blind. That's what it looks like to me.
Why did he take the papers at all? Why not copy them out in the office and sell the copies? He certainly had plenty of opportunity to do so. And why the absence of his underground ticket?
Perhaps the ticket would have shown us which station was near the agent's house. So the murderer destroyed it.
Good, Watson. Very good. And yet, I wonder.
Well, here's the underground station. The railway authorities have sent a man round to show the exact place where the body was found.
You won't change your mind and come with us?
Well, crawling round that black hole on my hands and knees, not very likely. Well, I shall expect a report on your efforts this evening.
Never expect too much, Mycroft. Never expect too much.
Before we follow Holmes and Watson into the mazes of the London subway system, I have a word of advice. Every year, colds cause a lot of sickness. Every year, they cause a lot of expense and time lost from work. Always regard a cold seriously. Always treat it earnestly. At the first sign of a cold, take Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets are famous relief for the distress of a cold. Their efficacy has been fully established. Bromoquinine tablets go right to work on a cold symptom. They don't waste any time. They don't pull any punches. They quickly relieve the misery of a cold. They help reduce the fever of a cold. Thousands of people keep bromoquinine tablets handy all winter. Thousands of people depend on them as their relief for colds. No other preparation enjoys greater confidence than bromoquinine tablets. Follow the example of millions, and at the first sign of a cold, take Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Get them at any drugstore, a few cents a box. Ask specifically for Grove's, Groves. Bromo, Bromo. Quinine, Quinine. Grove's bromoquinine tablets.
This way, sir. Step right along the tracks.
But it isn't safe. Supposing a train should come shooting round that curve.
Oh, that's all right, sir. There won't be another for 5 minutes anyway. Here we are, sir. This is where they found the body. Right here alongside the rails. Lying on its face it was.
Spooky old place, eh, Holmes? Like the catacombs, only without the skeletons.
Yeah. Anything in his hands when they found him?
No, sir.
Were they clenched? Or spread out as if he were protecting himself?
No, sir. They was what you might call relaxed.
What time did all this happen?
Well, sir, the train he was hoisted out of, as near as we can figure, passed along here about midnight on Monday.
All the carriages have been examined for signs of violence, I suppose.
They didn't find nothing, not even the missing ticket. There was a passenger to Aldgate on the ordinary train. About 11:40 it was. He said he'd heard a heavy thud, like something striking the line, just before the train reached this station. But it was so foggy, he said he was blessed if he could see what it was.
Holmes, what's the matter? What are you staring at?
The curve, Watson.
What
curve
of it?
of the rails.
What of it? What do you mean?
I suppose there aren't many curves as abrupt as this.
No, sir, I can't say as there is.
What have curves got to do with it?
Oh, an indication, Watson. Merely an indication. Unique. Perfectly unique. And yet, why not? I don't see any indications of bleeding on the line.
No, sir, there wasn't any to speak of.
But I understand there was a considerable wound.
The bone was crushed right enough.
Holmes, do you hear that? It's a train. It's coming this way.
Run, sir. Run for your life.
Yes, but where?
Up ahead. There's a place where the train switches off.
Run, Watson, run. It's just around the curve.
We'll never make it.
Yes, we will. Faster, faster.
There's the switch up ahead. Come on.
Here comes the train now.
We'll make it. Ah, Justin. Watson, for the love of heaven. You're on the wrong track.
Well, that was a narrow escape, Holmes. I must say my knees are still shaking. Look at the shoulder of my coat where you pulled at me.
Lucky thing for you that I did.
Where are we off to now in this fog?
Yes, it's a nice afternoon. Suppose we pay a few calls. I think Sir James Walter claims our first attention. After that, we might drop in on Miss Westbury.
Miss Westbury? Who's she?
She is Cadogan West's fiancée and the last person to see him alive.
Holmes, we seem to be going around in circles. We've accomplished absolutely nothing so far except to get ourselves nearly annihilated in the underground. After all, it's perfectly obvious that the young man had a quarrel with someone, in all probability the agent, to whom he sold the papers, and got himself thrown out of the railway carriage for his pains.
I disagree with you, my dear Watson. His body fell from the roof of the carriage where it had been placed. Cadogan West met his death elsewhere.
The roof of the train?
Consider the facts, Watson. A, the curve in the tracks. The body is found at a spot where the train pitches and sways as it comes around the points. B, there was no ticket. C, there were no signs of bleeding on the line because the body had bled elsewhere.
Of course. Everything fits together, but where was the body placed on the train?
I think I can make a fair guess at that, my dear Watson. Here we are. This is the famous official villa of Sir James Walter. And that, if I'm not mistaken, is his brother, Colonel Valentine, just coming out of the house.
What's the matter with the man? He looks positively haunted.
Oh, pardon me, Colonel Valentine, but can you tell me if Sir James is at home?
Sir James, sir? Sir James is dead.
Good heavens, dead?
He died this morning. It's terrible. Terrible.
How did he die?
Oh, it's this horrible scandal. My brother, sir, was very sensitive of his honor. He couldn't survive the disgrace to his department. It broke his heart. Pardon me, gentlemen, I must go. It broke his heart.
Most appalling development. Eh, Holmes?
I wonder if his death was natural, or if the poor fellow killed himself.
Yes?
Will you tell Miss Westbury that Mr. Sherlock Holmes would like to see her?
Oh, please come in, gentlemen. I'm Violet Westbury, Mr. Holmes. I've been expecting you ever since I heard you had taken the case. Please be seated.
Well, thank you.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, we must save his good name. He couldn't have done it. Cadogan was the most chivalrous, patriotic gentleman on earth. He couldn't have done it. He would have cut his right hand off rather than sell a state secret.
But the facts, my dear Miss Westbury.
I admit I can't explain them.
Was he in need of money?
No, Mr. Holmes. His needs were simple and his salary very good. He'd saved several £100. We were to be married at the new year.
I see. Had you noticed any signs of mental excitement?
Why, well, that is...
Come, Miss Westbury, be frank with us.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. That night, I had a feeling that there was something on his mind.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about it, will you?
We were on the way to the theater. It was a foggy night, you remember? We were walking slowly. Our way took us close to his office. Cadogan seemed thoughtful and worried. Darling, what's the matter? You haven't said a word for the last 5 minutes. Have I said or done something?
Of course not, silly. It's just that I've got something on my mind.
Oh, why not tell me about it? Perhaps I can help.
It's no use, Vi. It's too serious for me to talk about, even to you.
You know, sometimes, Caddy, I feel just the least little bit jealous of that old job of yours when you're cooped up in that building all day.
Oh, now you're not going to be jealous of a building.
Well, not really. But it is funny to think of a husband having secrets he can't tell his wife.
Mighty important secrets, I can promise you. There's one in particular that any foreign spy would pay good money to get hold of.
How thrilling.
Well, I don't know. They're awfully slack about some things over there in that building, Violet. What's too slack? It would be too confounded easy for a traitor to get his hands on those plans.
What plans?
Never mind, darling. I guess I'm getting a bit melodramatic. But there's something been worrying me. Hello, what's that?
What's what?
Over there, that shadow moving along the side of the building. It's a man. So that's it. I always suspected...
Oh, what's the matter? You're so excited. What's wrong?
Stay here, Violet. There's something I have to find out. Stay here.
I waited and waited, but he never returned. Oh, Mr. Holmes, if you could only save his honor, it meant so much to him.
We shall do our best, Miss Westbury. This shadow, this man moving along the building. Did you see it, too?
I think I did, Mr. Holmes. But the night was so foggy, I can't be sure. But there must have been a man. Another man. It couldn't have been Cadogan. Surely character goes for something.
Let us hope so. Come along, Watson. We must return home. I'm expecting an answer to some telegrams I sent Mycroft earlier this afternoon. We've done enough for one day.
Holmes, where have you been all day? You left this morning before I was up. Now you've come home with your towel awry, your suit torn, and as ravenous as a wolf.
Yes, I've had a bit of exercise, my dear Watson. Pass me the tongue, will you? It would have done you good to go along.
Yes, what were you doing?
Investigating the premises inhabited by foreign spies known to have been in London on last Monday. Mycroft sent me a list of them. Took a bit of doing, too. Climbing walls, breaking into cellars, prowling around rooftops.
Well?
I discovered there was only one residence which had the proper facilities for disposing of West's body after the murder.
Well, whose residence was that?
It belongs to a Hugo Oberstein. The address is 13 Caulfield Gardens, Kensington. The gentleman himself has departed for Europe.
Gone, has he? And he took the plans with him. It's too late.
Not necessarily, Watson.
What can we do now?
We're going to keep a rendezvous with the gentleman who stole and sold those plans. The assignation will take place at Mr. Oberstein's house this evening at 9.
What the deuce are you talking about?
These newspaper clippings. I found them in the drawer of Hugo Oberstein's desk. Read them.
The Daily Telegraph agony column. The first one says, too complex for description, must have full report, terms agreed to, payable when goods delivered. Signed, Piero. Piero, indeed. Sounds like a Mardi Gras.
Now, read on, Watson, read on.
Second goes, matter presses, must withdraw offer unless contract completed. Piero again.
And the last, dated Monday, the day the crime was committed.
Monday night after 9, 2 taps, payment in hard cash. I say, do you think it was a submarine that the plans that he was buying?
I'm almost positive. And Piero was Oberstein himself. But we'll find out for certain this evening. I've invited the gentleman who sold the papers to meet us.
How? I don't understand.
I inserted this advertisement in today's Daily Telegraph. Tonight, same hour, same place, 2 taps, vitally important. Your own safety at stake. Signed, Piero, as usual.
By George, if he answers that, we've got him.
Unless we're too late. Come along, Watson. There's no time to lose. You can take this package for a change. I've been carrying it around all day.
What's in it?
Oh, just a jemmy, a dark lantern, a chisel, and a revolver.
Nice equipment for a respectable citizen to be carrying about the streets of London, I must say.
Yeah, you know, Watson, there are times when I suspect we aren't quite respectable. Here we are. This is Caulfield Gardens.
Thank heavens it's still foggy. I shouldn't like to be caught in the act of housebreaking.
Yeah. Over this wall, Watson. There's a window we can easily pry open in the back.
Scale that wall?
Come on, hurry up. There's no time to lose. Here. I'll give you a boost. Come on, up you. That's it. Look out, here I come.
I must say, Holmes, you're as agile as a cat. It's uncanny.
This is the window. Light the lantern and give me the jemmy. 1, 2...
Holmes, the underground runs right past here, almost on the level of these windows. I could have reached out and touched it.
Yes, quite convenient, wasn't it? It was here the body was placed on the roof of a train. Look out at this, look on this windowsill. You can see the soot is blurred where they rested the body. And here, look here, look. This brown stain is blood.
Nasty, eh, Holmes? Let's get on into the house.
Very well, then. Come along. The window's open. Easy, don't break the glass.
Supposing Oberstein should happen to return home.
Well, we must take our chances in this business. Come along, Watson, come along. Our visitor will expect to be let in by the front door.
I wish these stairs didn't squeak so.
9 o'clock. We can expect him at any moment now. You take your position on one side of the door. I'll be on the other. So we can pounce on him when he enters. I'll throw my greatcoat over his head.
Oh, well, I wish he'd hurry.
Shh, Watson.
Oh, what if he doesn't come?
There he is. Ready now. I'll open the door.
You wanted me?
No, you don't. Take that.
What the...
Easy, Watson, easy.
All right, Holmes, I've got him.
Well, let's take a look at our catch. Take the overcoat away, Watson.
Right. Hi, it's Colonel Valentine Walter, Sir James's brother.
Quite. Well, sir, what have you to say for yourself? Why did you steal the Bruce-Partington Plans?
Who are you? What do you know about this?
I am Sherlock Holmes, and I know everything.
Oh, this is terrible. I'm lost. I didn't realize their importance until my brother killed himself. But I needed the money. I had to have it. Oberstein offered to give it to me if I'd let him see the plans.
So you took an impression of your brother's key, opened the safe, and procured the papers. Cadogan West saw you leaving the building, followed you here, and you killed him.
No, I didn't do that. I swear I didn't do it.
No? Then perhaps you'd better tell us who did murder Cadogan West and placed him on the roof of the railway carriage.
I'll tell you. I promise you I will. I did the rest. I confess it, but not that.
Very well, then. How did it happen?
I got the papers, as you've discovered. Made my way through the fog until I reached the door. Once or twice, I fancied I was being followed. I could hear footsteps on the pavement behind me.
Colonel Walter?
Yes?
You have the papers?
Yes. Let me in, quick. I think someone's been following me.
Yes, it's me. You can't do this, Valentine. It's treason.
All right, you hear?
No, you can't sell the papers, Valentine. I won't let you.
They should see.
Look out, West.
Take that. Oh. How do you like that, my impetuous young friend? Papa Oberstein, he knows how to use a blackjack, eh?
You've killed him.
So?
It's murder. I'm going to get out of this.
Oh, no. I think different. You will come in here if you do not wish to taste the blackjack, too.
But
That is better.
Oh, what can we do? They'll find the body.
I have an idea. First, I look at those papers. I take the ones I want, and the rest we put in the pocket of this foolish young man. And then we give him a nice ride on top of the underground train, no? He will be the guilty one. Who will ever know?
What a thoroughly unpleasant gentleman. What a pity that he got away with the papers, Dr. Watson.
Oh, but he didn't. Oberstein had left a Paris forwarding address with Colonel Walters. That gentleman sent him a letter dictated by Holmes, saying that he had discovered that one essential detail in the plans was missing, and that he had procured a tracing which would make it complete for a price.
And did Oberstein swallow the bait?
Did he swallow it? He was arrested as he got off the boat at Folkestone. Some weeks later, I learned, incidentally, that Holmes had spent a day at Windsor Castle and returned with a remarkably fine emerald tie-pin. When I asked him where he got it, he answered it was just a small present from a certain gracious little old lady for whom he'd been able to do a small favor.
Yes, and I think I can guess the lady's august name.
Elementary, my dear Mr. Manning, elementary.
I see. Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, Dr. Watson will be back to tell us about next week's story. In the meantime, let us repeat. Watch out for colds. At the first sign of a cold, take Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets are made especially for the relief of colds. In other words, they're specialized medication, and that's what you want. Yes, at the very first sneeze or sniffle, go right to your druggist and get a package of Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Now, Dr. Watson, next week?
Next week, I think I'll tell you the story of the lion's mane.
The lion's mane. What was that, Dr. Watson?
Well, the answer to that question, Mr. Manning, almost stumped Sherlock Holmes himself. Suffice it to say that they were the last words gasped out by a dying man as he lay writhing in agony on the sands of the Sussex coast.
You have been listening to a Sherlock Holmes adventure, adapted from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Bruce-Partington Plans, with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. The dramatization was by Edith Miser. This program is presented from Hollywood every week at this same time by the makers of Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Quick relief for colds. This is Knox Manning speaking.
This is the National Broadcasting Company. This is the National Broadcasting Company. This is the National Broadcasting Company. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. The makers of bromoquinine cold tablets bring you another adventure of Sherlock Holmes with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. Watch out for colds, ladies and gentlemen. They're very prevalent now, and a little cold may be the start of a serious illness. What you want to do at the first sign of a cold is take famous bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets are made for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is the relief of colds. They act fast, give you speedy results, and that's what you want when you have a cold. Bromoquinine tablets are known the world over for their efficacy. Trust your reputation when buying a medicine. Do this when you feel a cold coming on, and you'll ask for bromoquinine cold tablets. And now, as we make our way through the night to Dr. Watson's hospitable door, we notice a feeling of spring in the air. The buds are swollen on the trees, still black and dripping from the rain. There's the smell of warm, damp earth.
Delicious. Hey, Mr. Manning?
Well, hello, Dr. Watson. I didn't see you in the dark.
Yes, I've been out checking up to see if my magnolias survived the winter.
Any casualties?
No, they all seem to be fairly bursting with buds. There's nothing as delicious as that first faint whiff of spring. All is treacherous. Come along to the house before we both catch our death of cold.
After you, sir.
Not at all, my boy. None of that age before beauty nonsense. I'm not as decrepit as all that.
Oh, what's this? The front hall littered with trunks and suitcases?
Oh, yes. I'm afraid my annual wanderlust has broken out rather early this spring. I'm off on a little jaunt first thing tomorrow morning, but come along into the study.
Does that mean that this is the last of our storytelling evening?
For this winter, yes, I'm afraid it does. Well, I trust I'm not too forward if I hope to be invited back again in the fall.
Oh, of course not. You know we'll be waiting for your return.
Oh, thanks very much. It's very, very decent of you. To put up with the meanderings of an old fellow like myself, huh? I appreciate it, you know. But sit down, Mr. Manning. Sit down there, over there, in the usual chair. Let's get on with our story before I get all glittery and sentimental.
You're going to tell us about Professor Moriarty tonight, aren't you?
Well, I had intended to, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to tell you the adventure of Retired Colourman instead.
Retired Colourman? Isn't that a military term?
No, it isn't. Mr. Josiah P. Amberley had been the junior member of Brickfall and Amberley, manufacturers of artistic paint boxes. He made quite a tidy little fortune. Retired from business at the age of 61, bought a house at Lewisham and then settled down. The very next year, 1897, I think it was, the old fool married.
Married?
Yes, married. The woman 30 years his junior.
Yes, that's always a bit risky.
Risky? Risky. Within 2 years, he was as miserable a creature as crawls beneath the sun. Oh, dear me, I'm jumping ahead in the story again. As I was saying, it was the 23rd of April, 1899, and a rainy and disagreeable April it had been. Holmes was in a melancholy and philosophic mood that morning as he stood by the window, watching the raindrops chasing one another down the pane. Rain had always depressed him when he was not working on a case. When he was working on a case, I don't believe he realized that there was such a thing as weather.
Look at that beastly rain. Hasn't stopped for 3 days. Might as well be another flood. Well, heaven only knows what transgressions could have brought it on. That's been a really first-class crime for months.
Oh, cheer up, Holmes, cheer up. It's probably good for the crops or something.
The shortage in crime?
No. The rain, of course, probably makes the little buds sprout and the little shoots shoot.
Oh, don't be so blasted optimistic. More likely rotting all the seed that's already been planted. Rain, where the deuce does it all come from? This confounded English climate? Why any man with half a brain stays on this rain-soaked, mist-bound island is beyond me.
I doubt if the men have anything to do with it. It's the ladies, God bless them. This climate gives them perfect complexions, and with so many lovely creatures about, what Englishman would think of quitting the country? So much beauty, such exquisite...
Oh, rubbish, Watson, rubbish. The spring has given you a temporary softening of the brain. I regret to say it seems to have that effect on most impressionable males.
Impressionable nonsense. When a woman's concerned in one of your cases, you never even notice whether she's 16 or 60, and then you don't care whether she's got a well-turned ankle or whether she's flat-footed.
Oh, why should I?
Holmes, there are times when I think you're Oh, cold-blooded fish.
Possibly, Watson, possibly. Why do you suppose the fool doesn't show up?
What fool?
Josiah P. Amberley.
Oh, is he one of your clients?
Oh, I suppose I may call him so. He's been sent to me by Scotland Yard.
Oh, by Scotland Yard.
Quite. By Lestrade, to be exact. You must consider the case fairly hopeless if Lestrade hands the matter over to me of his own accord.
Look, Holmes, there's a cab drawing up in front of our front door. He must be your client, Mr. Amberley.
Yeah. Strange-looking individual, eh, Watson?
He's quite an old fellow. Looks literally bowed down with care.
Ah, but no weakling. Look at those shoulders and that chest. The framework of a giant. He's arguing with the cab driver about the fare. Huh. Watches the pennies, eh?
I must say I don't like his face. So fierce and eager, and the way those snaky locks of grizzled hair stick out from under his hat.
I wonder what he's worrying. What's worrying Mr. Amberley? Willing to bet it has something to do with money. I imagine nothing else could upset him to any great extent.
Nonsense, Holmes. You always look on the base side of human nature.
Here he is now. Come in, come in.
Which of you is Sherlock Holmes?
I am. This is my friend, Dr. Watson.
Who are you?
I'm a broken man. He's robbed me, the swine. Taken everything I had in the world. I thought he was my friend, and he took everything. Right from under my nose. In my own house. Robbed me, he did.
Yes, I felt sure it was a question of money.
Money? Who said money? He stole my wife. The light of my life. The apple of my eye. It's true she was very expensive. But after all, she was my wife, and he stole her.
Now, Mr. Amberley,
my beautiful blonde wife. Hair like gold. And my securities. The money I saved up with years of hard work. Gone. All gone.
Yes, thank you. First, tell us about your wife. How long have you been married?
2 years. 2 years, and she's tired of me already. 2 little years.
Easy now, good man, easy. More facts and fewer recriminations if we're to get to the bottom of this case.
Well, 3 years ago I retired. Bought a house. Big house at Lewisham. Cost me plenty of money, that house did. Well, sir, I'd never lived alone in a big house before, and got sort of lonely. House began to need looking after, so I thought I'd start looking around for a wife. Nice, healthy, young wife to look after me. Then I met Ella. Handsome girl she was, too. A good cook. Hair like gold. Could bake a beef and kidney pie that would melt in your mouth. So I thought I might as well get married.
Yeah, very practical, I'm sure.
Yes, that's what I figured at the time. But, Lord, Mr. Holmes, the money a woman runs into. There made my heart bleed the way the money went.
I should have thought you'd have been glad when the other fellow took it off your hands. But who was this...
This wolf in sheep's clothing?
Yes.
His name was Dr. Ray Ernest, a young fellow. He used to come over nights and play chess with me.
I see. He stole your wife?
Yes, and my securities.
Yes, but surely the securities are registered. You can hardly hope to convert them.
Maybe not, but I must have them back. And you've got to find those securities for me, Mr. Holmes. You've got to find them.
And your wife, of course?
Well, of course, wherever she is, they are.
Quite. On the other hand, Mr. Amberley, I confess I don't see that I can be of much service. It's a routine matter, and I'm sure that Scotland Yard would be only too glad...
They haven't found a thing, not a single security.
Very well. We'll do our best. Dr. Watson will take a run down to your house at Lewisham to look over the grounds.
Oh, really?
Yes. I hardly expected you'd come yourself. After my heavy financial loss, nobody cares if an old man's heart is broken.
Oh, stop that blubbering. I'm not coming myself because I'm preoccupied with the case of the 2 Coptic patriarchs. This particular case doesn't seem to be very complicated. I'm sure, Mr. Amberley, that Dr. Watson can handle it as well as I could myself.
Well, if that's the best that you can offer, I suppose I must be satisfied. Pampered, that's what she was. And that young man, that dirty pickpocket, I treated him like my own son. He had the run of the house. And now look how they've treated me. Me, you never harmed a soul.
Quite. And now, good day, Mr. Amberley.
Yes. Well, good day, Mr. Holmes. And I shall expect Dr. Watson this afternoon. You have my address, I believe. Oh, the ingratitude, the rank ingratitude of it all.
I must say, Holmes, I like the way you shoved all this off onto my shoulders. Coptic patriarchs, indeed. You just don't want to go.
Right, Watson, right, the very first time. You've been begging for a case all to yourself for months. Well, here it is.
Yes, and a nice case you've given me, I must say. That old skinflint.
Oh, my daughter, oh, my ducats, eh? With the emphasis on the ducats, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, confound that passage. There. Ah, that's better. That's dash good. Hello. Someone steps on the stairs. Watson, if I'm not mistaken, and in a triumphant mood.
Hello, Holmes. Well, I'm back.
Hail the conquering hero. A successful afternoon, I take it, with the light of victory in your eye.
Well, I did manage to dig up a cure.
Good. How about Mr. Amberley's place of residence? What's it like?
Well, he calls it the Haven.
Oh, charming.
Yes, isn't it? I think the place would interest you, Holmes. You know that particular quarter, the monotonous brick streets, the weary suburban highways. Well, right in the middle of them lies this beautiful old home, surrounded by a high sun-baked wall, mottled with lichens and topped with moss, the sort of wall...
You may omit the poetry, Watson. I note that it was a high brick wall.
What? I should have guessed it was the Haven, even if I hadn't asked a lounger who was smoking outside in the street.
A lounger?
Yes, a tall, dark, heavily moustached man with a curious look in his eye.
With great tinted glasses and a Masonic type-in?
Good heavens. How'd you know?
Oh, the fool. A child of 10 could have seen through that.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, I don't see.
Never mind. Continue with your story, Watson.
Well, I'd hardly entered the gateway before I saw Mr. Amberley coming down the drive to meet me. He began at once, pouring out his grievances. We walked back to the house together.
And,
Well, once inside the wall, I must say, I've never seen a place worse kept. Garden running to weeds and in a dreadful neglect. The house, too, was slatternly to the last degree. It just goes to show what happens to a place when there's no womanly hand about to keep it in order.
Yes, but Mrs. Amberley's only been missing a few days. Hardly time for so much disintegration to take place. Must have set in before she left.
Oh, possibly. At any rate, Mr. Amberley seemed to be ashamed of it. He was doing his best to remedy it, though I must admit that his efforts looked a trifle ineffectual.
What's to become of me? What's to become of me? My wife gone, most of my fortune stolen. Oh, come in, Dr. Watson, come in. Here you see what remains of what used to be called my home. An Englishman's home is his castle, so they say. But home is where the heart is. And my heart... Well, look out, Dr. Watson, look out. That wood waste just been...
Oh, look at that. My best pair of trousers.
Too bad. Careful. You almost get in that pot of paint.
Oh, dash it all, Amber. This is absolutely the limit.
Sorry, I shouldn't have left that pot of paint in the middle of the passage, I suppose. That when one's alone in the house, one forgets.
Well, alone? So you've been doing this painting yourself?
It must strike you a strange occupation under the circumstances. One must do something to ease an aching heart. And step in here, Dr. Watson. This is my study, my sanctum sanctorum.
Oh, sanctum sanctorum. I see you've just finished painting woodwork in this room, too. What a smell of paint.
Yes, it's not dry yet. That's why I have a fire in here.
Now, let me see. Where did you keep your securities?
In the safe in that wall. This room is really a strong room, like a bank, with an iron shutter on the window and an iron door, burglar-proof. Ah, that's the irony of it. No thief from without could have taken my money, but my wife, my own wife. There's a picture, Dr. Watson, on the mantel, taken in a wedding dress.
Oh, nice-looking girl, Emily. It doesn't look the sort...
the viper, the ingrate.
Oh, really?
Why, that very night, I bought 2 upper circle seats at the Haymarket Theatre. Wanted to give her a treat, I did.
Oh, didn't she go?
No. Last moment she said she felt sick. That she had a headache, she did. I believed her, went alone. When I came back, she was gone. The safe was ransacked.
Just a minute. What night was that, Mr. Emily?
Last Thursday.
Oh, Thursday, was it?
Here's an unused ticket. Money wasted. She was always wasting money.
May I have that ticket, Mr. Emily? Hold on. You thrown it in the fire. No, why?
I wanted to get rid of it. I want to get rid of everything that reminds me of her. Here, give me that picture.
Well, I say...
There, into the fire she goes, curse her. May her soul burn in torment as that picture's burning now.
Unpleasant fellow, Watson? This case begins to look more somber than I suspected. If you could only have brought me that ticket, Watson.
Oh, I did my best, Holmes. I may not have the ticket itself, but I did notice the number of the seat.
Oh, bravo, Watson. How did you happen to remember it?
Well, as a matter of fact, it was my place in form at school, 31. See from the bottom. And so it stuck in my head.
Splendid, old fellow. Then Amberley's seat must have been 30 or 32. Hear me now. Who can that be?
Well, whoever it is, he's dashed impatient.
Oh, yes. Here he comes up the stairs, fairly running. Come in. Well, bless my soul if it isn't our old friend, our good friend, Mr. Amberley. What's up?
A telegram, Mr. Holmes. I can't make anything of it. Here, see for yourself.
Uh-huh. Come at once without fail.
Yes.
Can give you information as to your recent loss signed Elman,
Yes,
the
Elman.
vicarage. Ah, dispatched at 2:10 from Little Purlington. Little Purlington in Essex, I believe, not far from Frinton. You will start at once, of course. Watson, look up the train.
It's probably a hoax. What could anyone in Little Purlington
But it's
know
from
about
a very responsible person. Where's my Crockford? Yes, here it is. We'll look up this minister of the gospel. Elman. Here it is. Yes, J.C. Elman, M.A., living of Mossmore, come Little Purlington.
Yes, but I still don't...
Surely, Mr. Amberley, you want to find your wife and your lost securities, don't you?
Of course, but think of the waste of time and money.
Here we are. Here's a train from Liverpool Street at 5:20.
Yes, you just have time. Mr. Amberley, you go downstairs and hail a cab. I'll help Dr. Watson throw a few things in the bag.
You think I need Dr. Watson? Perhaps I'd better go alone.
Oh, no. It may be a trap for all we know.
I don't think I shall go.
Mr. Amberley, it would make the worst possible impression on both police and on myself if you refused to follow up so obvious a clue. We should feel that you are not in earnest about this investigation.
Very well, I'll go.
Perhaps you'd better go with him, Holmes.
What? Take your case, Watson. After the brilliant way in which you've handled it? No. Go along, Mr. Amberley, or you'll miss your train.
Very well, but the expenses...
Here you are, Watson. Here's your bag.
It's packed.
Yes, you never know when you may be called off on a case like this. I packed it for you.
Holmes, I do think
Quite. Now, whatever you do, see that he really does go to Little Purlington.
Yes, I don't think that he's...
Again, quite. Should he break away and try to return, get to the nearest telegraph station and send me the single word bolted. I will arrange to have it reach me wherever I am.
What? You have something to look into at this end, then?
I have, Watson. This case is beginning to take on a rather curious and sinister aspect. Above all, old man, take good care of yourself. And Mr. Amberley.
Before we find the outcome of Watson's curious mission, ladies and gentlemen, I have a few words to say. Here's what you want to do when you feel a cold coming on. Here's what you want to do at the very first sign of a cold. Take famous bromoquinine cold tablets. Bromoquinine tablets don't fool. No, sir, they get right after a cold symptom. They get right after a cold's misery. They relieve the headache and other pains that go with a cold. They relieve that stuffiness and feeling of depression that accompanies a cold. They help reduce the fever that goes with a cold. Bromoquinine tablets are fast and decisive in their action. First, because they're made especially for the relief of the common cold. And secondly, because they act internally. You can take lots of things for the relief of a cold, but nothing more reputable and reliable than famous bromoquinine tablets. Get them at any drugstore at the first symptom of a cold. Ask for bromo, B-R-O-M-O, quinine, Q-U-I-N-I-N-E, bromoquinine cold tablets.
Ah, confound this rain. Everything's as dark as a black hole of Calcutta. Yeah, the haven. Shitty little haven this is. I can find a window unlatched. Not much chance on the first floor. The old boy's 2 quarters. Ooh. Second story window, perhaps. Now, if I can manage to scale this porch pillar. Ah, this confounded rain. Just slippery as a greased pole. Come on. Hey, there we are. Yeah. There's the window that's unlatched. Easy. Now. 1 foot over the sill. Now
Up with your hands. Up with them, I tell you. Thought I wouldn't see you prowling around down below, eh? Well, I've caught you red-handed.
Nice wild goose chase that turned out to be. That friend of yours, Sherlock Holmes, is a fool.
I'm sure, Mr. Amberley, if you'll call and see him, he can explain.
Explain nothing. That vicar had never seen that telegram before. The way he treated us. You might have thought we were suspicious characters. Then missing the last train and having to sit up all night in the confounded station with the rain dripping through the roof.
Well, we could have gone to an hotel.
Gone to an hotel? That costs money. Gone to an hotel, indeed.
Well, here's your house, Mr. Amberley. I think I'll go along home now and get some breakfast.
You will not. I'm going to come into the house and see if everything's all... Why, look up there. The window over the porch. It's open.
Perhaps you left it like that yourself.
Rubbish. I tell you, I don't like the looks of this. Where's my key? Where's my key? Here it is. We'll soon find out.
I say, it is gloomy, isn't it?
Look. Someone's been here right enough. Footprints on the fresh paint. I'll find them if I have to tear the place apart.
No need for that, Mr. Amberley. We're here waiting for you in the study.
Holmes! Good heavens, what a start you gave.
How did you get in here?
Dived in through the an upstairs window.
That's burglary, young man.
Yes. Burglary has always been an alternate profession, and I cared to adopt it. I'll admit I was glad I hadn't when I walked into Inspector Lestrade's gun last night. He thought I was a burglar, too. But come, we're keeping him waiting. He's in the library. Here they are, Lestrade. I told you we could expect them back before 10.
No, but look here, that's not Lestrade. That's the man I saw loitering in front of the gate yesterday afternoon. The fellow with the black moustache and the glasses.
Yes, that's right, Dr. Watson.
Yes. Lestrade fondly imagines that's the disguise.
Oh, now look here, no.
It's as obvious to anyone who takes the trouble.
Look here, I've had enough of this. I won't have two busybodies prowling around my house in the middle of the night. And what's more, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, I suspect you sent that telegram yourself.
Very clever of you, Mr. Amberley, very clever. You looked a trifle pale. I thought a night in the country might do you
no,
good.
Enough of that. What kind of a fool do you take me for? I'll have you put behind the bars, all of you.
Oh, surely not Inspector Lestrade. Why, he's from Scotland Yard.
I don't care if it's from the House of Lords.
Yeah, none of that.
You're all disgraced, publicly disgraced. Breaking into my house in the middle of the night. Oh, I'll get you for that. What were you doing in here last night? Answer me that.
Looking for the bodies.
What?
Looking for the bodies of your wife and Dr. Ernest. What have you done with them?
How dare you? How dare you?
You murdered them in this room. We have ample proof.
Why, you...
Stop him, Watson. Stop him. He's got a capsule in his hand. It's poison. He's going to swallow it.
No.
Come on, get that out.
Spit it out.
Spit it out.
Spit it out, or I'll choke
No,
you.
short cut, Mr. Amberley, if you please. Everything decently and in its proper place. Take him away, Lestrade.
Right, come along now. No more monkey business. I won't put up with that. All right,
Phew, what a scene. So that old brute Amberley's a murderer, eh? How did you find it out?
Well, the first clue was the theater ticket, which you didn't use. We found that out.
Oh, that destroyed his alibi.
Yes, the theater people assured us that there had been 2 empty seats, not just one. The second clue was the smell of fresh paint. What was he trying to hide by that?
Yes, what?
Gas. He asphyxiated his wife and Dr. Ernst in this room.
Good heavens.
His strong room, which was as near airtight as anything could humanly possibly be.
But how?
Well, that's what I wanted to find out. That's what I was looking for when I broke into the house last night.
And what did you find?
Look here. Notice the gas pipe along the skirting here? It rises in the wall, in the angle there, and ends in that plaster rose in the center of the ceiling where it's concealed by that ornamentation. The end's wide open.
How horrible.
Yes, and look here. Look, near the floor. What do you make out?
2 words written on the wall. We were. Then a scroll. We were. What does that mean?
The poor devil was trying to write, "We were murdered." I can see the whole ghastly scene. It was last Thursday night. Amberley had lured his wife and Dr. Ernest into this room.
Oh, listen to that wind. I wish it would stop.
It's not so bad in this room. We have a little game in here, eh, Dr. Ernest? Just you sit here, dear. Entertain the doctor while I go and look for the chessmen. Excuse me for a minute, Dr. Ernest.
Certainly.
And if you don't mind, I'll close the door. There's such a draught. It'll be much cozier in here with the door closed. Much cozier.
If that wind only wouldn't howl. I feel so depressed. Is there something terrible we're going to happen?
Oh, nonsense, my dear Mrs. Amberley. This house is getting on your nerves. If there's any wonder.
He gets worse and worse. Oh, Dr. Ernest, I'm so frightened.
You must go away.
What?
Now, don't be alarmed, Mrs. Amberley. I've had your husband under observation for some time. I'm afraid he isn't quite normal. It isn't safe for you to stay here any longer.
But, Dr. Ernest, don't you understand? I can't leave my husband. Heaven knows what would happen if I left him alone.
We could get a nurse to take care of him. You can't stay here with him. What was that?
Josiah, he heard us. He was outside the door listening. Oh, Dr. Ernest, this is terrible. What can we do?
Listen. You hear that?
It's the gas. Someone's turned on the gas. I can smell it.
Hurry. We've got to get out of here.
What? Oh, the door's locked. He's locked the door. Amberley! I say, Amberley, open the door.
Quick, the window. No, that's locked, too. The iron shutters.
Amberley! Amberley, let us out!
You realize what this means? He's going to kill us. He must have gone mad. I'm afraid.
Yes, it's what I was afraid of. He's a maniac. A homicidal maniac. Oh, this is horrible. We're trapped. What a fool I was.
What can we do? I feel so faint. I can hardly breathe.
Here. Lie down on the floor. Yeah, it's better down here.
It's no use. I can't stay awake. I don't mind anymore. I'm quite all right. Really.
Mrs. Amberley. Don't give up. I feel pain, too. I must warn people. It's dangerous. I can't think. Oh, God, I can't breathe. I can't think.
What a tragic story, Dr. Watson. And was Mr. Amberley insane?
They decided he was. He ended his days in an asylum.
Did they ever find the bodies?
Yes, at the bottom of an old well, the opening of which had been cleverly concealed by a dog kennel.
I see.
And now I'm afraid it's time to say goodbye.
Well, not goodbye, Dr. Watson. Au revoir.
Well, just as you say, Mr. Manning. Anyway, in conclusion, I want to thank you and our radio audiences who so patiently listened to the reminiscences of a sentimental old fellow. And I want to wish you all, old and young, an extremely happy summer.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, Basil Rathbone would like to say a few words to you. But first, may I give you a word of advice? Remember the danger of the so-called common cold. Remember the sickness it can cause and the bills it can cost. Act promptly, decisively, at the first sign of a cold. Take famous bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets have a reputation. Their fame extends to all quarters of the globe. Their merit is an assured fact. Reliability is the one thing you want in any medicine, especially in a medicine for the relief of colds. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate when you feel a cold coming on. Go right to your druggist and get a box of bromoquinine tablets. The small cost may save you a lot in grief and expense. Ask clearly for bromoquinine cold tablets. And now, here's Basil Rathbone.
Ladies and gentlemen, to me, Sherlock Holmes has always been one of the greatest characters ever created. Tonight, as our present series ends, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the makers of bromoquinine, for giving me the opportunity of playing Holmes on the air, especially with such an inspired Dr. Watson as Mr. Nigel Bruce.
Oh, Basil, that's very...
Please.
Oh, sorry, what?
Speaking for myself and Mr. Bruce, may I express our gratitude to our radio audience for the many letters of interest and encouragement that we received. And finally, a word of appreciation to all the performers and others concerned with this program who have helped so immeasurably in making the Baker Street days live again. And now, until fall, it's time for me, too, to say au revoir and good luck.
You have been listening to a Sherlock Holmes adventure adapted by Edith Miser from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Retired Colourman, with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. The Sherlock Holmes series was produced by Tom McKnight. This program was presented from Hollywood by the makers of bromoquinine cold tablets, quick relief for colds. This is Knox Manning speaking.
This is the National Broadcasting Company. This is the National Broadcasting Company. This is the National Broadcasting Company. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. The makers of bromoquinine cold tablets bring you another adventure of Sherlock Holmes with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. This program is presented every week at this same time, and a complete story is dramatized each time. Colds are already here, ladies and gentlemen. Be on your guard. Be careful. The so-called common cold may be the start of more serious illness. At the first sign of a cold, take famous bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets act promptly and decisively to relieve the discomforts of a cold. They help reduce the fever of a cold. They give you the results you want in the time you want. Yes, at the very first sign of a cold, let it be bromoquinine cold tablets. Now here we are once more in the cheerful, firelit study of the famous Dr. Watson, who's relating his delightful Sherlock Holmes adventure. Good evening, Doctor. You look a bit irritated, if you'll pardon my saying so.
Good evening, Mr. Manning. Good evening. Yes, I am a bit annoyed, and with good reason. I don't know if I've told you that Holmes has been listening in to these reminiscences. Well, here's the letter I received from him after last week's story. Read it.
All right. My dear Watson, I noticed that in your last broadcast, you gave way to your regrettable habit of emotionalizing your story. Detection, my dear fellow, is or ought to be an exact science. To tinge it with romanticism is like introducing a love story into the fifth proposition of Euclid. As ever, Sherlock Holmes.
Well, what do you think of that?
But the emotion was there. You couldn't tamper with the truth.
Holmes has always maintained that the truth is not in what you say, but in the impression you create in the other person's mind. Well, Holmes always complained that I overstress the human element in recording his cases. How well I remember the attitude with which he received the publishing of my first book about his adventures. It was a cold morning in early spring. We were sitting on either side of a cheery fire in our rooms in Baker Street. A thick fog rolled down between the dun-colored houses. Our gas was lit. It shone on the white cloth and glimmered on the coffee cups and on the silver. The breakfast table had not yet been cleared away. Holmes had been silent all the morning, smoking his long cherrywood pipe, which usually displaced his favorite clay when he was in a disputatious mood. Altogether, he was not in the best of tempers.
Matches. Where are the matches? Look at that confounded fog. What happens to all the matches in this house, I'd like to know.
My dear Holmes, why not use the tongs and a live coal if you want to relight your pipe?
Huh? Oh! I burned myself. Ah!
For heaven's sake, Holmes, stop spluttering. Something's annoying you. Why not get it off your chest?
It's that confounded book of yours.
What?
Sensationalism, Watson. Rank sensationalism. You're always placing the emphasis on the crime. Crime is common, logic is rare. You should stress the logic. You have degraded what should have been a course of lectures into a series of tales.
Now, really, Holmes, that's not logical. You're always complaining that crime is falling off. You say there are no first-class criminals left.
Quite. And therefore, if you depend on the crime to hold your readers, you'll soon be a back number. Criminals. Bah! They've lost all their enterprise and originality. My practice seems to be degenerating into an agency for recovering lost lead pencils and giving good advice to young ladies from boarding schools.
Advice to the lovelorn, eh?
Well, look at this. This note. It came by this morning's post. Here. The last straw, that's what it is. Read it.
Let's have a look. Dear Mr. Holmes, I'm very anxious to consult you as to whether I should or I should not accept a situation which has been offered me as a governess. I never did. I shall call at 10:30 tomorrow if I do not inconvenience you. Yours faithfully, Varlick Hunter. Well, it's almost 11 now.
Exactly. She's late. Just like a woman.
I say, Holmes, this must be your young lady now, walking briskly up the street.
I see. Brisk, purposeful manner. Nice, bright, intelligent face.
Yes, it is. She's stopping at our door.
Well, there may be something in this case after all, my dear Watson. She's not the hysterical sort that makes a fuss over nothing. Shh. Here she is. Come in. How do you do?
This is Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Quite. And this is my colleague, Dr. Watson.
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do?
I trust you'll excuse my troubling you, Mr. Holmes, but I've had a very strange experience. And as I have no relations of any sort to advise me, I thought I'd best come to you.
I shall be very happy to do anything that I can.
Well, I've been a governess for 5 years in the family of Colonel Spencer Monroe. He's been transferred to Nova Scotia, so that for the last few months I've been without a situation. Why, I advertised and answered advertisements, but without success. You see, the money I had saved began to run out, and I was at my wit's end.
Indeed. Go on.
Well, yesterday I called in at a well-known employment agency run by a Miss Stoper. When I arrived, the outer office was filled with young ladies looking for situations. I was told to wait. But I did so, and after about half an hour, my name was called out. Well, the door to Miss Stoper's private office was ajar. Seated beside her was a prodigiously stout man with a round, smiling face and a heavy chin. Oh, his eyes were like two little slits. Well, I advanced to the door, my knees trembling. Oh, Mr. Holmes, if you know how I needed that work.
Come in, my dear. Come in. Mr. Rucastle, this is Miss, what is your name, my dear?
Miss Hunter, Violet Hunter.
Oh, yes, Miss Hunter.
Oh, capital. I couldn't ask for anything better. I'm sure you'll do, Miss Hunter.
Well, I hope so, Mr. Rucastle.
You're looking for a situation as a governess?
Yes, sir.
And what salary do you ask?
Well, I had £4 a month in my last place.
£4? Rank sweating. How anyone could have the audacity to offer that to a lady with such attractions, such accomplishments. A lady fitted for the rearing of a child who may someday play a considerable part in the history of his country. Your salary with me, madam, would commence at £100 a year.
100? Oh, Mr. Rucastle.
And furthermore, it is my custom to advance my young ladies half their salary beforehand.
May I ask where you live, Mr. Rucastle?
Hampshire, a charming rural spot. The Copper Beeches is the name of the place, 5 miles north of Winchester. Oh, the dearest old house.
And what would be my duty?
One child, a dear little romper, age 6. Oh, if you could see him killing cockroaches with a slipper. Smack, smack, smack. He's gone before you could wink.
My sole duty, then, is to take care of this child.
Well, I'm sure your good sense would suggest that you obey any little commands which my wife might give, provided, of course, that they were such as a lady might obey with propriety. You see no difficulty, eh?
Oh, I should be happy to make myself useful.
Oh, by the way, in dress, for example, we're faddy people. Faddy but kind-hearted. Now, if you were asked to wear a particular dress that we might give you, you wouldn't object to our little whim, eh?
Why, no.
Or to sit here or there, that wouldn't be offensive to you.
Why, no.
Or to cut your hair short before you come to us.
My hair?
Oh, yes, it's quite essential. It's a little fancy of my wife's, you see. And ladies' fancies, my dear Miss Hunter, must be consulted.
But my hair... Oh, no, I couldn't.
No, what a pity. Well, in that case, Miss Stoper, I'd best inspect a few more of your young ladies.
Good day, then, Miss Hunter. I'm afraid you must consider yourself struck from our list.
Oh, but...
You can hardly expect us to exert ourselves to find another such opening for you.
But, Miss Stoper...
Good day, Miss Hunter.
Oh, just a minute, Miss Stoper. Let's not be too hard on the young lady. After all, my request was a little sudden. Perhaps, Miss Hunter, you'd like 24 hours in which to consider the matter. And in view of the fact that you have particularly beautiful hair, I might be willing to raise the salary to £120 a year to recompense you for our little eccentricities, yes.
Unusual, most unusual, my dear Miss Hunter. What do you make of it, Watson?
Well, perhaps the gentleman's wife is a lunatic, and he wishes to humor her offences in order to prevent an outbreak.
Possibly, Watson, possibly. In any case, it doesn't seem a nice household for a young lady.
But the money, Mr. Holmes, the money, and I need it so.
Well, yes, the pay is good. Too good. Why should they give you £120 when they can have their pick for 40? There must be some strong reason.
But I have no choice.
Then you've made up your mind to accept?
Yes, I must. I thought if I told you the circumstances, you would understand afterwards if I wanted your help. Oh, Mr. Holmes, I should feel so much stronger if I knew you were behind me.
Certainly you may carry that feeling away with you. And if at any time you should find yourself in danger...
Danger? Well, what danger could there be?
My dear Miss Hunter, it would cease to be a danger if we could define it. But remember, at any time, day or night, just telegraph me and we'll come to your help.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Thank you.
almost a week since that charming Miss Hunter called. Conditions must be pretty good at the Copper Beeches, or we'd have heard from her.
You never know, Watson. You never know. She may not be able to get to a telegraph office.
Huh? Nonsense, Holmes. Nothing very dreadful can happen out in the open country like that.
Now, that's where you're wrong, Watson. It's my experience that the vilest alleys in London do not present a more dreadful record of sin than does this smiling, beautiful countryside.
Holmes, you give me the creeps. What do you mean?
The pressure of public opinion is greatest in the towns. There is no lane so vile that the scream of a tortured child or the thud of a drunkard's blow does not beget sympathy and assistance from the neighbors. But the countryside, my dear Watson, filled with its lonely houses. Think of the hellish cruelty, the hidden wickedness. Why, it may go on year in, year out in such places, and no one the wiser. Had our young friend gone to Winchester, I should not have had this fear for her safety. It's the 5 miles of country which makes the danger. See what it is, Watson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Hunt. It's a telegram for you, Holmes.
Oh, give it to me. It's from Miss Hunter.
Oh, well, what'd she say?
Come at once. We'll meet you at the Black Swan Hotel, Winchester, at 3 this afternoon. Abbott, my wits' end, don't fail me.
What do you suppose has happened?
Hurry, Watson. We've no time to lose. There's a train from Waterloo Station in half an hour. If we can only get to her in time.
In just a moment, we will follow Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson on their strange journey. Ladies and gentlemen, be careful of the so-called common cold. It may quickly turn into something else. Act quickly, act prudently. At the first sign of a cold, take bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets promptly relieve the distress of a cold. They help reduce the fever of a cold. Bromoquinine tablets are effective for 2 very good reasons. First, they're made especially for the relief of a cold symptom. Specialized medication, in other words. Second, they work internally. They get out a cold's discomforts from the inside, which is the way you want. Be businesslike in your treatment of a cold's misery. Take a businesslike preparation. Bromoquinine tablets. You can get these famous tablets at any drugstore in America, a few cents a box. Be sure you ask for Bromo, B-R-O-M-O, quinine, Q-U-I-N-I-N-E. Bromoquinine cold tablets.
Yes, there's the Black Swan, opposite the station.
Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, that's Miss Hunter waiting for us on the doorstep. She looks a bit pale and shaky, eh, Holmes?
Yes. Poor girl is obviously frightened.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, it's so kind of you to come. You too, Dr. Watson.
Oh, not at all. Pleasure.
I can't tell you how anxious I've been.
There now, Miss Hunter. Perhaps if we go inside, they can give us a private sitting room.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. I've ordered tea this way, please.
Ah, yes, that's better. Nice, cozy fire. Close the door, will you, Watson? That's right. Now then, suppose we let the doctor do the pouring while you tell the story. First of all, how do you like your tea?
2 lumps and a little cream.
Oh, righto.
Thank you, Dr. Watson.
Yes, and now?
Well, first of all, I've had no actual ill treatment from Mr. and Mrs. Rucastle, but there are things that frighten me. However, I'd best begin at the beginning.
Yes, that is generally a good place to start.
Well, Mr. Holmes, Copper Beeches is a large, sinister-looking house, almost completely surrounded by woods. It depressed me from the moment of my arrival. I was met at the door by Mr. Rucastle and his wife.
And, is she...
Mademoiselle. She's not married.
I see.
She's a small, pale-faced woman, much younger than Mr. Rucastle. In fact, I gather that she's his second wife. You see, there was a daughter by the first marriage, a girl now over 20, but she's not living at the house. Mr. Rucastle said that she couldn't get along with her stepmother, so he sent her to America, to Philadelphia.
That's all I think.
And does Mrs. Rucastle strike you as a difficult woman to get along with?
Oh, no, Mr. Holmes. Oh, she's shy and rather quiet. More than once I surprised her in tears. At first, I thought it might be worry over the disposition of her child.
Oh, what's the matter with his disposition?
Well, he's badly spoiled. He has an ungovernable temper and seems to take great delight in torturing birds and small animals.
Pleasant little beast.
And the rest of the household?
Well, there's only one servant. Toller is his name. A rough, uncouth man with a perpetual smell of drink about him. Why they keep him, I don't know. Except perhaps because he's the only one who can manage Carlo.
Carlo?
Yes. Carlo's a huge, underfed mastiff that's kept chained in the stable during the day, but at night they let him out. Oh, he's a terrible beast. Even Mr. Rucastle is afraid of him. I'm sure he'd tear any trespasser to bits.
I wonder why Mr. Rucastle desires such ferocious protection.
I'm sure I don't know unless there's something on the top floor of the west wing that he wants to protect.
The west wing, eh?
Yes, the door that leads into it is opposite my room, and it's kept securely locked.
Yes, it looks nasty to me, Holmes.
Please, Watson, please, don't interrupt.
Well, the second day after my arrival, immediately after breakfast, Mr. Rucastle asked me to put on a dress which had been laid out for me on my bed.
What was it like?
Well, it wasn't a new dress, Mr. Holmes, but the material was excellent and of a particularly brilliant shade, an electric blue.
Oh, electric blue, charming color.
I put it on and went down to the living room. Mr. Rucastle had placed a chair for me by the front window. He asked me to sit there with my back to the window and to read to him from a French novel. Well, I read for an hour, and at the end of that time, he said I might go upstairs and change.
Strange.
And this experience has been repeated every morning since then. Well, as time passed, I became more and more curious. Why were they so careful to keep my face turned away from the window? Naturally, I was consumed with the desire to see what was going on behind my back. So today I devised a means. I noticed at breakfast that Mr. Rucastle had had quite a few drinks. A happy thought seized me. My hand mirror had been broken, so I concealed a piece of it in my handkerchief and later in my book, feeling sure that Mr. Rucastle was too drunk to notice. Holding the book up, I was able to see everything behind me.
And what did you see?
Well, at first there was nothing. At the second glance, however, I saw a young man in a gray suit leaning against a railing which bordered our field. He was looking earnestly in my direction. Mr. Rucastle must have noticed my surprise, for he burst out angrily.
Really, Miss Hunter, your attention must be wandering. That's the second time that you've read that passage.
Oh.
Furthermore, there's an impertinent fellow up the road who keeps staring at you. Is he a friend of yours?
Oh, no, Mr. Rucastle, I don't know anyone around here.
Well, kindly turn around and motion him to go away.
Oh, wouldn't it be better not to notice him?
Do as I tell you. I really don't encourage you to have any followers.
Very well, Mr. Rucastle. Where?
Impertinent fellow. That will be all for this morning, Miss Hunter. You may go to your room.
Oh, but Mr. Rucastle, I hope you don't...
Go to your room, I say.
Yes, sir.
And after this, you needn't bother to wear that blue dress.
Oh, dear, what a frightful household. Oh, if I could only get away from here, it's all so depressing. What? Well, he'd left the key in the door to the west wing. He must be drunk. I wonder what's inside. Oh, it wouldn't hurt to take just one look. Oh, how dark it is and empty. Wait. There's 3 doors. Well, the middle one is barred with the end of an old iron bedstead. I wonder why. Oh, goodness, it's spooky in here. What was that? Oh, it must have been a bat. Someone's in there. Or maybe it's something. I can't stand it. It's too eerie. I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out. Oh, dear, there comes Mr. Rucastle up the stairs. Oh, Mr. Rucastle. Mr. Rucastle.
It was you, then. I thought it must be when I saw the door open.
Oh, I'm so frightened.
My dear young lady, and what frightened you?
Well, I was foolish enough to go into that vacant wing, but it was so lonely and eerie, and a bat swooped down into my face.
Is that all?
Well, what else could there be?
And why do you suppose that I keep that door locked?
I'm sure I don't know.
It's to keep people out who have no business there, you see.
I'm sure if I'd known it.
Well, you know now, my dear young lady. And if you ever put your foot over that threshold again, I'll throw you to the basket.
What a dreadful experience.
Mr. Holmes, I feel sure there's someone locked in that room. Someone who's unhappy, perhaps tortured. Oh, good heavens, it's almost 5. I promised to be back by 6. Mr. and Mrs. Rucastle are going out. If Mr. Rucastle should discover where I've been...
You've acted like a brave and sensible girl, Miss Hunter.
Yes, indeed you have.
Do you think you could do one more thing?
I can try, Mr. Holmes.
Dr. Watson and I will be at the Copper Beeches by 7. The Rucastles will be gone by that time, and I don't imagine the Mastiff will be let loose until they return.
Oh, no, Mr. Holmes. It would be too dangerous for them to get back to the house.
Good. We will hope that Toller is still drunk. At any rate, you must get us into the house. We must explore the West Wing.
I'll do my best, Mr. Holmes. Now I must hurry. Goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Miss Hunter. Well, my dear Holmes, what do you make of it all? The blue dress and the man in front of the house.
Obviously, they've had someone had her impersonating someone. Someone young whose hair has been cut off during an illness. That someone is probably the person imprisoned in the West Wing.
Oh, how sinister.
That is not the most sinister part of Miss Hunter's story.
No? What is that?
The unpleasant disposition of the child.
Oh, what's that got to do with it?
My dear Watson, as a medical man, you know that a child's tendencies can be discovered by a study of the parents. But heredity as a science could be worked backwards as well. You can get a good insight into the character of the parents by studying the children. This child is cruel, abnormally cruel. He probably inherits it from one of his parents. I only hope nothing serious happens before 7 o'clock tonight.
Gracious. What a night. The first thunderstorm of the season. Listen to that dog. He's in an ugly temper.
Listens to the house with this roof of Copper Beeches in front of it. Yes. Miss Hunter waiting for us in the doorway.
The coast must be clear.
Oh, come in. You must be spoke to the ski.
Oh, you're rather wet yourself. You must be careful, you know. You'll be
Quiet,
catching...
Watson, quiet. What's that pounding?
It's Toller. He was just going out to release the dog. I sent him to the wine cellar, then locked him in.
Splendid.
I managed to get Toller's keys this afternoon, too. He was quite drunk. They are duplicates of Mr. Rucastle.
Better and better, but come along upstairs. We've no time to waste. Have you got your revolver handy, Watson?
Yes.
Good.
Good heavens, that lightning must have hit quite near here.
It's one of the Copper Beeches, no doubt.
Now, which key? Oh, this one. That's right. Nothing here. Come along.
Listen to that rain on the roof.
The middle door, you said. Hello in there. No answer. I don't like that. Watson, help me remove this bedstead, will you?
Sure.
That's right. It's tied at one side. Here, cut the rope. That's it.
The door's locked.
Oh, we must break it open then. Come on. 1, 2. Hello. There's no one here.
That villain Rucastle has made away with the prisoner.
You may be right. He's probably been carried off.
Yes, but how?
Through the skylight. It's still open. Shut that table over here.
What are you going to do?
Stand on it, of course. Yes. 2 pairs of footprints, and there's a ladder resting against the eaves, so that's how he did it.
But that's not possible. The ladder wasn't there when the Rucastles went away.
Then he must have come back.
He's a dangerous and clever man. Listen. Yes, I think I hear his steps on the stairs.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, you'll kill us all.
I thought I'd find you here.
You villain, what have you done with your daughter?
I'm the one that should ask that. You thieves, you robbers. I've caught you. You're in my power. I'll fix you. Hello. Hello. I'll fix you.
He's gone to get the dog. We'll be torn to shreds.
Quick, Watson. We must close the front door.
Right, you are, Holmes.
Let me up! Let me up, Mr. Rucastle! Loose the dog! He'll kill Mr. Rucastle! Oh, quick! It'll be too late!
It's Toller. Get the keys, Miss Hunter. Let him out.
All right.
It's Davy!
Oh, it's Carlo. He's got Mr. Rucastle by the throat.
Quick, Watson, give me your revolver.
Careful you don't hit the man by mistake.
Shut up and stand back, Watson.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, thank heaven. You've killed Carlo. I thought it was too late. It's so horrible. I think I feel...
Watson and Toller, bring Rucastle into the house, will you?
Oh, I feel so strange, weak. I can't stop
Now,
crying.
Miss Hunter, please, it's all over. Just you go upstairs and pack your bag. Dr. Watson and I are going to take you back to town with us on the 9 o'clock train. So you think, Watson, that Rucastle will live?
I'm afraid so, Holmes.
Oh, I'm so glad to get away from that dreadful place.
I say, Holmes, just what did happen to the prisoner in the West Wing, and who was it?
It's all so disgustingly simple, my dear Watson. It was Rucastle's daughter, as I suspected. It seems that she had inherited some money from her mother, who was Rucastle's first wife. When she threatened to get married and take a small fortune with her, her father tried to get her to sign a paper giving the money to him. He worried her until she got brain fever and had to have all her hair cut off.
Oh, what a brute.
I got all these details from Toller. Still, her young man stuck to her, and she to him. After that, Mr. Rucastle locked his daughter up and brought Miss Hunter down from London in order to impersonate her, to get rid of the persistent suitor. This young gentleman, however, was a persevering chap, and having greased Toller's palm very thoroughly, he learned the true state of affairs. With the help of Toller and a long stepladder, he rescued his fiancée. They are now headed for Southampton with a special license, and this time Miss Rucastle, or rather Mrs. Fowler, is really going to America on our honeymoon.
Oh, it is quite romantic, isn't it, Holmes?
Ah, you and your romance, Watson. You're a regular old woman.
Well, I'm glad we were able to help the poor thing, but I wouldn't go back to that house again. Not for twice the salary.
Oh, that reminds me, Miss Hunter. I was talking to a friend of mine about you the other day. She has a private school in Walsall. I believe she said she had an opening for you.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, you're a darling.
Now, my dear, it's quite inconsequential. Really, no, shut up, Watson.
Well, Dr. Watson, you certainly had some exciting times when you were living with Sherlock Holmes.
I certainly did, Mr. Manning. Those were the days. Tell me, never a dull moment. Yes, when I think of the thrilling experiences that Holmes brought into my life, I can almost forgive him for being so deucedly critical.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, before Dr. Watson tells us what next week's adventure will be, here's what to do when you feel any sign of a cold. Here's what to do for prompt relief. Go right to your druggist and say a package of bromoquinine tablets, please. Start taking the tablets right away, according to the directions on every box. You'll be surprised with the prompt action of bromoquinine tablets. You'll be amazed with the way they relieve a cold's discomfort. You'll get results such as to delight and reassure you. You'll say, here indeed is a dependable preparation well worthy of its fame. Don't leave your radio tonight without making a mental note that any sign or suspicion of a cold, you're going to take bromoquinine tablets. You'll probably have more than one occasion to be grateful for the resolution. Remember, bromo, B-R-O-M-O, quinine, Q-U-I-N-I-N-E, bromoquinine cold tablets. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week, sir?
Well, next week, we shall hear about a noble bachelor who finally married and whose wife disappeared between the wedding and the bridal breakfast.
So this bachelor had a wife, eh? Even Holmes will have trouble explaining that.
Not at all, Mr. Manning. Not at all. You'll hear all about it next week. And the most peculiar story it is, too.
You have been listening to a Sherlock Holmes adventure adapted from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Copper Beeches, starring Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. The dramatization was by Edith Meiser. This program is presented from Hollywood every week at this same time by the makers of bromoquinine cold tablets. Quick relief for colds. This is Knox Manning speaking. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Sherlock Holmes, starring Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. The makers of bromoquinine cold tablets bring you another adventure of Sherlock Holmes, with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. Friends, when you're the victim of a cold, remember this. Bromoquinine cold tablets are made exclusively to help relieve the usual distress of cold. They're not a cure-all. They're made for one purpose and one purpose only. to help relieve the common miseries of a cold. The ache, the pain, the fever, and nasal stuffing. That's why they do such an effective job. Give yourself the advantages of specialized medication. When a cold attacks, take bromoquinine cold tablets as directed and only as directed. Now, here we are again in our habitual armchair in front of Dr. Watson's fireplace, waiting for the good doctor to put down the evening paper.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Mr. Manning. I didn't see you come in. I was reading about your latest American gang shooting.
Yes, crime seems to be riding high, wide, and handsome in most of our big cities, I'm afraid. What a pity we haven't got Mr. Sherlock Holmes on the job.
This is just what I was thinking.
Of course, on the other hand, these gangs of racketeers have sprung up since he retired. Perhaps he wouldn't know how to handle it.
Rubbish. I can remember just one case we handled back in '94. It was concerned with Giorgiano, the worst gang leader New York ever had. We didn't call it racketeering in those days, but it amounted to the same thing. Kidnapping, blackmailing, bombing, terrorizing innocent people. By during the course of that particular case, Giorgiano had one man taken for a ride, as you call it.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, it's a bad story. Let me see. It was in November in the year 1894. Holmes and I were sitting in our rooms in Vegas.
Well, I thought you said this story was about the head of a New York gang.
Yes, so I did, Mr. Manning, so I did. Don't you interrupt. Even famous gangsters have been known to travel about from time to time. Well, as I was saying, Holmes and I were sitting in our rooms in Baker Street, and our housekeeper, Mrs. Hudson, ushered in a friend of hers, a landlady who kept lodgings in Great Orm Street. Holmes invited her to sit down. The poor woman was obviously harassed and kept sucking away at the fringe of her cape.
Mrs. Hudson tells me that you've been having some difficulty with the lodger, Mrs.
Warren, that's
thank
my
you,
name,
thank
sir. No, Mr. Holmes, you couldn't call it difficulty I'm having. And there was a lodger that was easier to do for. It's just that I don't see him from one weekend to the other.
Oh, come now. That's nothing to be uneasy about. My blessed Mrs. Warren, if I were your lodger, there would be many occasions when you wouldn't see me for weeks at a time. I work a good deal at night, you know, and do my speaking by day.
Oh, no doubt, Mr. Holmes. But this is different. He never goes out, not even at night. I've waited up to find out. I never see his face, not even when he pays his bills. Not a sign of him ever seen for the last 3 weeks.
And how do you know he's still there?
Like he's trying to get away from something? Oh, it frightens me, Mr. Holmes. I can't sleep for fright.
When did this lodger first come to you?
3 weeks back it was. He asked me terms and I paid 50 shillings a week. You see, there's a fine sitting room and bedroom all complete like at the top of the house.
Yes, indeed. Go on.
Well, Mr. Holmes, he says to me, I'll pay £5 a week if I can have it on my own terms. He took a £10 note out of his pocket then and there and gave it to me 2 weeks in advance. Then he says he's to be left entirely to himself and never for any excuse are we to disturb him.
So he took the rooms and hasn't been out since?
Oh, yes, he has, sir. What?
But I thought you said that he...
Just what it was, sir, that first night. He went out and returned very late. He was all in bed, but I heard him walking up the stairs. And his door shut and locked. Oh, he keeps it locked. And I ain't seen him since.
But his meals. How does he get his meals?
Well, when he rings, I take a tray up and leave it on a chair outside his door. Then when he rings again, up I goes and takes the tray away empty. If he's wanting anything else, he writes it on a slip of paper and leaves it on the tray.
I see. Have you brought any of those bits of paper with you?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. There's just been 3.
Good.
Here they are.
Uh-huh. When today? Most interesting. Written with a broad, pointed, violet-tipped pencil and printed.
Well, what do they say, Holmes?
The messages are quite laconic, my dear Watson. Soap, Daily Gazette, and Match. They open up a very pleasing field of intelligent speculation. Suggestive, Watson, very suggestive. The gentleman...
Anything very unusual about those papers?
No. That's printed. The gentleman doesn't wish Mrs. Warren to obtain a sample of his handwriting. And here, look. On this slip, after the soap, a corner has been torn away. There was evidently some mark, perhaps a thumbprint. It might give a clue to the man's identity. Furthermore, the person is undoubtedly a foreigner.
Oh, how do you deduce that?
When he writes match, not matches. You must look the word up in the dictionary, which gave only the singular, of course. Now, Mrs. Warren, what's your lodger look like when he came to take the room?
Youngish he was, Mr. Holmes, not over 30. Middle-sized, dark, and he had a beard.
Spoke English?
Yes, sir, he spoke English well enough, but with an accent. He was a foreigner.
What'd I tell you, Watson? What'd I tell you? Did he give his name?
No, sir.
He had any letters or callers?
No, sir.
Where does he retire when you or the girl go in to do his in the morning?
We don't go in, sir. He does for himself.
Oh, I see, yes. Interesting. And you say nothing has come out of that room? Absolutely nothing?
Just 2 burnt matches and a cigarette end. They was on the tray this morning.
You brought them with you?
Oh, that I did, sir. Mrs. Hudson told me as how you said nothing was too small to take notice of.
Mrs. Hudson was right.
Yes, sir, here you be.
These matches were used to light cigarettes.
Very silly. How can you tell what the matches were used for?
Quite obvious, my dear. Wasn't quite obvious. The shortness of the burnt end. At least half a match is consumed in lighting a pipe or a cigar. Hello. Well. This cigarette is certainly remarkable. Yes, Mrs. Warren. The gentleman who is now living in your rooms is not the gentleman who engaged them.
No, Holmes. You can't tell us that. You can deduce that from the cigarette itself.
Elementary, my dear Watson, elementary. Notice the size of the thing. I believe you said the first gentleman had a beard, Mrs. Warren.
Yes, sir. A black beard it was, and a flowing moustache.
Yes. Now, take the cigarette. Only a clean-shaven man could have smoked it down this far. Why, Watson, even that bristle you call a moustache would have been singed.
Yes, that's not very funny. Perhaps he used a holder.
Impossible, my dear fellow. Notice the way that it's matted at the end. No, it's a different person entirely.
How could he have got in?
Well, he went out the first night, Mrs. Warren tells us. But did the same man return? I think not. I think it was the second chap who came back. The one for whom the first man took the room.
Perhaps they both returned. Possibly that there are 2 men in those rooms.
Excellent, my dear Watson, excellent. You're coming along. Now, tell me, Mrs. Warren, how much does the fellow eat? Would it be enough for 2?
Oh, no, sir. He eats so little I often wonder if he can keep life in one.
Well, that settles that.
Oh?
Now, Mrs. Warren, there seems to be nothing more to be done for the moment. I hardly think the situation is dangerous, at least not for the present. But keep us informed of any further developments.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Holmes. I feel easier in my mind already. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Not at all.
Good day, gentlemen.
Good day.
Good day, Mrs. Warren. Look here, Holmes. You're not going to go buckling about in this affair. The man is probably just a harmless eccentric of some sort.
You never know, Watson. You never know. Whoever he is, he's living in terror.
Huh?
Terror of what, I wonder?
Oh, rubbish. Besides, who's going to foot the bill? What do you expect to get out of a case like this?
Education? The pursuit of knowledge, Watson, is my great hobby.
Pursuit of knowledge of the foot. Curiosity, that's what it is. Plain, unadulterated curiosity.
Oh, possibly, Watson, possibly. Education, pursuit of knowledge, curiosity. Perhaps they all amount to the same thing.
Where are you going to look for your education in this case, if I may ask?
In the Daily Gazette, my dear fellow, in the Daily Gazette. A newspaper is often a very storehouse of knowledge.
Time I look at you, you have your nose buried in a copy of the Daily Gazette. Why the fondness for that yellow rag?
Yeah. The Daily Gazette is the paper Mrs. Warren's mysterious lodger asked for, remember?
Well, what of it? What can you discover from a common newspaper? The answer is nothing. Nothing at all. Here it is 4 days since we heard of that mysterious gentleman, Mrs. Warren's, and what have you unearthed? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No, you're wrong as usual, my dear Watson. I've unearthed nothing.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special bulletin from the NBC newsroom in New York. President Roosevelt will address the joint session of Congress at noon tomorrow. We return you now to the adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
My chief enemy to the hiding place of the mysterious lodger. How would you go about keeping in touch with him?
Just what I know.
Through the papers, my dear fellow, through the agony columns. And since Mrs. Warren's lodger received only one paper, the notices must appear in that.
Yes, I see now, but how can you tell which notice is the one we're after?
By elimination, Watson. By elimination. Take this paper, for instance. The edition which appeared 2 days after the lodger took up his residence with Mrs. Warren.
The agony column, huh? Let's have a look. Dear me. What a collection of groans, cries, and utter nonsense.
Oh, perhaps, my dear Watson, perhaps, but nevertheless, an invaluable hunting ground for the searchers after education. Well, go on.
The first one reads, surely Jimmy will not break his mother's heart. That's very pertinent. Listen to this. It's the lady who fainted in the Brixton bath.
Disregard that. The lady doesn't interest me.
Here's another. Every day, my heart longs.
Oh, bleach, Watson. Unmitigated bleach. Go on, please.
Well. Be patient. we'll find some means of communication. Meanwhile, what's this column? It's signed G.
Sounds more plausible, eh?
Are there any others?
Yes, 3 days later we picked up the trail again. Here it is. There, that one.
And making successful arrangements, patience and prudence, the clouds will pass. G again.
Yes, nothing for 2 weeks after that. Then comes something more definite. Here.
The spot is clearing. If I find chance to signal, remember code. A1, B2, and so on. You'll hear soon. Oh, what's more G? By Jove. Things are warming up.
See who that is, will you, Watson?
Oh, sure. Yes, I'm sure he wanted as much. Thank you so much.
Well. What is it?
It's the afternoon copy of the Gazette that has just arrived. This is how they got it up.
Good. See if there's anything in it.
House of Parliament in heated session. Actress has pearls still.
Oh, come on, give me that paper.
Oh, look out, Holmes. You can't. Snatching the paper out of a fellow's hands like that. Nice manners, I must say.
Here we are, Watson. Here we are. High red house with white stone facing, third floor, second window left after dusk. G. Ha. That's definite enough, Watson. That's definite enough. Hello. What's that? Look out of the window, will you, Watson?
Big old friend, Mrs. Warren. I say, she must be excited. Her hat's on the side of her head, and she's puffing like a steam engine. There's Mrs. Hudson. Just let her in.
Yeah, something's happened. We weren't there. Confounded, Watson. I hope nothing of it. Come in.
Oh.
Mrs. Warren, what's up?
Oh, Mr. Holmes, sir, I come as best as I could.
Well, here, take a chair and get your breath.
Oh.
Now, wait a minute. Sit down.
Oh.
That's better. Now then, what's happened?
It's a police matter, that's what it is. I'll have no more of it, and I won't. I'll pack him on bag and baggage. I'm at the end of my patience, I am. When it comes to knocking my old man about...
Mr. Warren,
well, treat him rough anyway.
Who did that?
Well, that's what we want to know. It was around 11 this morning. There was a fog, you remember? Well, I sent Mr. Warren around to get me some money in for the stew we was to have for lunch. Well, he says he got no more than 10 paces down the road when 2 men come up behind him, threw a coat over his head, and bundled him into a cab that was standing beside the curb. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and he don't come back. And there am I and me stew left waiting for the onions. Well, at 2 o'clock, they come up a stew anyhow. And you know what a stew is like without onions.
Yes, it's like tea without...
Yes,
without milk.
I like mine.
Well,
tea without milk is about that. One of the most...
Go on, Mrs. Warren. Go on, never mind.
Yes, well, at 3 o'clock, my old man comes home, all black and blue, and his coat tore. At first, I think he's been in some pub. He's got a weakness for a drop now and then.
Yes. Well, go on, please.
Pretty soon, I see he's not drunk, just dazed, and he tells me he's been driving around for 2 hours with a couple of men threatening him, and finally they opened the door and shoved him out. And when he comes to, he found he was on Hampstead Heath, so he took a bus home, and there he lies now on the sofa, moaning and groaning.
Indeed, most interesting. Did he notice the appearance of the man? Did he hear them talk?
No, Mr. Holmes. He's clean dazed. He just knows he was lifted up as if by magic and then dropped again.
Just by magic?
Yes, sir, that's right.
And you connect this attack with your lodger?
Well, sir, we've been living there 15 years now, and know such happenings ever came before. I've had enough of it. Money's not everything. I'll have him out of the house before the day is
now,
done.
Wait a minute, Mrs. Warren. Wait a minute. Don't do anything rash. The matter's becoming more and more interesting. It's clear that these men mistook your husband for your lodger, and the heavy fog this morning, and when they discovered their mistake, they released him.
They threw him out, they did, on his ear.
Yes, well, wait a minute. The important thing is that your lodger's enemies have found him. They're on his track. They'll be back. I suggest you return to your home at once before anything serious has a chance to happen.
Just a moment, we'll rejoin Sherlock Holmes as he endeavors to solve the mystery of Mrs. Warren's lodger. Ladies and gentlemen, in every American city, town, or village, you'll find a group of people who are worthy of the highest praise. The American druggists, men and women who are always on the job to serve our needs day and night. This evening, we have a very welcome guest, a druggist from the city of the famous Mardi Gras, colorful New Orleans, Mr. Wally Schweikart of the Schaefer and Schweikart Pharmacy at Carrollton and Genesee. Now, here's what happened the other day when a friend of mine visited the Schaefer and Schweikart Pharmacy.
Mr. Schweikart, you certainly have a fine modern drugstore. How long have you been serving this neighborhood?
About 25 years.
Well, sir, it's a long time. Say, what were those big buildings I just passed on the way out?
Why, the famous Tulane and Loyola University. And we're proud to have some of the students among our best customers.
And I suppose you have an occasional professor stopping in, too, huh?
Yes, we do. college students and professors buy medicines just like anyone else.
And that brings up a question I'd like to ask. What do most of your customers buy when they want to relieve the usual symptoms of colds?
Bromoquinine cold tablets by a big margin. We recommend them, and both Mr. Shape and I have used them to help relieve the common miseries of our own colds.
That's just the way it happened, isn't it, Mr. Schweikart?
Yes, that's right.
It's been a pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Schweikart, and your statement bears out the results of a coast-to-coast survey conducted by one of America's leading research organizations and taken among over 2,000 American druggists just like yourself. It was found that more than 87%, that's about 9 out of every 10 druggists, recommend bromoquinine cold tablets as an effective aid in the relief of the usual cold symptoms. And in addition, the majority of these druggists said the bromoquinine cold tablets were their largest selling tablets made exclusively for the common distress of cold. Friends, when you have the usual symptoms of a cold, get the preparation your druggist probably recommends. Time-proven bromoquinine cold tablets and take only as directed. Bromo, B-R-O-M-O. Quinine, Q-U-I-N-I-N-E. Bromoquinine cold tablets.
This is my house, sir.
It's very tidy indeed. Starched curtains, polished doorknobs.
I do my best, Mr. Holmes. Now, where do I put my keys?
Those windows on the top floor where the lamp is lit. Those are the lodgers' rooms, I take it?
Yes, sir. Oh, here's the key. Just inside the linen and bag. Will you come in, gentlemen?
Holmes? Oh, the door's open. Come on in. I say, why are you staring at that house across the street?
You see it, Watson? You see it?
Of course I see it. I'm not blind.
High red house with white stone facing.
Of course. The message.
Yes. Watson, that is undoubtedly the signal station. Notice the to let sign in the window? An ideal spot, my dear fellow. An ideal spot.
I dare say we're supposed to be gone inside. We're keeping Mrs. Warren waiting.
Right, Watson. Practical as usual. Well, Mrs. Warren, what now?
I don't rightly know, sir.
Well, suppose we begin by taking a look at this mysterious lodger of yours.
How are you going to manage that if he keeps the door locked?
When do you take his next tray up to him, Mrs. Warren?
Usually I do see around 4:30.
4:30, eh? It's almost that now. Is there any chance, another room with a door opening onto his corridor?
No, sir, that is. Oh, wait a bit, sir. There's a cupboard. A big cupboard almost opposite his door. Yes?
Excellent. What you and I will secrete ourselves in that cupboard while Mrs. Warren fixes the gentleman's tea tray.
Very good, sir. I'll do it right away. It's the top floor, Mr. Holmes. You can't miss it. The cupboard door is the first one to the right, at the head of the stairs.
Good. Thank you. Come on, Watson.
You think it's nice playing like this?
Watson, you've too many scruples to be a first-class detective. Oh, come down the stairs. They creak like a rusty thing.
Now what are you doing?
Removing my shoes. You better follow my example. That way you have a much better chance of being undetected.
Very well, but I feel like a criminal myself. Oh, not I can't get the shoelace undone.
Well, for goodness sake, break it. We can't sit here all night.
All right. Oh, there you are.
Come along now. Quiet. Sounds like the charge of the light brigade.
I'm not making any more noise than you are.
Easy now. Cupboard door. Yes, go.
What? What you said was the large.
Oh, good, thanks. Please, squeeze here. Close the door. Look at the crack. That's enough to see through.
I can't do the best thing pushed here like this.
Well, not supposed to. I'll do this little band bit of it myself. Here comes Mrs. Warren now. Stop that noise, Watson. You're pumping like a gremlin. Yes, here she is. Slipped on chair. Going away. At the door now. Slowly. And a big bite thunder. Well, I'm dashed.
What is it, Holmes?
What's happened? Something I did not foresee. Follow me downstairs quickly, Watson.
My own excitement. Who was it? Who opened the door?
Remember, I deduced the substitution of lodgers, Watson? Yes. What I did not foresee was that we should find a woman, and no ordinary woman, Watson.
No, of course not.
Dark, young, handsome, with a face etched with terror.
Terror? Do you think she saw us?
I think think she's suspected uplifting.
Well, what do we do now?
We'll put on our shoes. They're going to spend the next few minutes on the front doorstep.
Why?
You remember the message said that Jean would communicate with the lady at dusk today? Please keep an eye on the window opposite.
Yes, but that's
It's almost dark now. Come along.
Holmes, we've been here for half an hour. My fingers are practically numb. Perhaps your friend has seen us and been scared off.
No, this doorway's too dark. It's more likely that something has happened to prevent his coming. Hold on. There's a light over there now.
Yes, I can see a shadow. Look, there he is. Pale face. Just against the pane.
He's got a candle peering across. Once they're sure she's there. Now we see this flash. A single flash. It's A. Take the message, Willie Watson, so we can check up on each other.
Go ahead. T. That is T-A-T-at.
Wait a minute. There's down. Another T.
That was the beginning of the second word.
Now E. Then comes an N. Long one this time.
It's another T.
An A. It's not. Well, surely that's not all.
At 10 Tower. At 10 tonight. That's my record. I have it. T-A is initial.
That goes again.
Why do you got a race like that? I can't keep up with it. Wait a minute.
The same message over again. Curious, Watson. Attenta.
Must be in cipher, Holmes.
Not a very obscure cipher, Watson. It's Italian. Attenta means beware. It must be urgent.
Very good, scared.
Still the same message. Attenta. Hello. You've broken off. The light's gone out.
Someone's broken a window.
What's that? Quick, Watson. We must get in there. Something violent is happening.
The doors are locked open.
Come on, Ben. Keep your revolver handy. Dark, I can't see a face. Here, up these stairs. Hello. There's a candle where he dropped it. You're warm. Light a match, Watson. That's better. Let's look around a bit.
So quiet. It's uncanny. Where could he have gone?
There's a broken window. And here, look here, Watson. Blood. A trail of blood. Some heavy object has been dragged along the floor. Use this cupboard door. Open it, Watson.
Is it out? Oh, very well. Holmes, look. On the floor, a man.
On his back and covered with blood.
Look, there's a knife. A knife sticking straight up.
Driven blade deep into the body. A terrific blow. Give me that candle. Let's have a look at him. Yes.
There. Look at the red circle drawn on the floor under his head. A halo in blood. Holmes, what are you doing with that candle?
Finishing the message. I think it will be helpful. Let's get to the root of this mystery. I must find out how he got there.
You mean this man? Then you recognize him?
Naturally, Watson. It's Black Georgiano, the head of the most terrible band of criminals in America.
Like Georgiano. Gee, for Georgiano. Then it must have been he who sent the message. What's he doing over here in England?
That's the question. We must ask a lady from across the street. We should be here in a moment. I signaled her to come. Here she is.
Marito, I have a cold. Ah, you. What is it? What have you done with him?
You must prepare yourself for a nasty shock, madam.
My husband, what has happened? What are you hiding from me? Who is that on the floor?
I beg of you not...
Oh, let me see. Georgiano. Romeo, you have killed him. He's dead.
Please don't be so upset, madam.
But it is wonderful, marvelous.
What?
You are the police. You have killed him. Oh, I'm so happy. You have killed him.
He was dead when we found him.
How so? Then it was my Jenna who killed him. My wonderful Jenna. He has done it to protect me. He has painted me. He is magnificent. But where is he? Just now he sent a message for me to come.
It was I who sent the final message. Your husband disappeared out of the back window, if I read the signs correctly.
But I ran away. Oh, my husband, he did it to protect himself. To save me. No one could blame him. You could not arrest him for that. No. Now that your Jenna is dead, we fear nothing. We are free.
Perhaps you'd like to tell us about it. I may be able to arrange matters with Scotland Yard.
Well, Jenna is my husband. Gennaro, Luca. I am Amelia Luca. My husband and I, we live in New York. We are happy until my Geno's brother, he meets this Georgiano. He was a devil, a monster. There is no judge in the world who would punish my husband because he killed him.
Yes, I understand he had rather an unsavory character.
He was a king. He makes the young Italian men join in his society. Gennaro's brother was one of his men. He cannot break away. He must do the most terrible thing. And then one night he say no. And he shot in the back.
In the back? Quite a sportsman, I heard.
Quite what?
After that, this Georgiano, he say my husband must join his gang. He began to make love to me. He is terrible. I'm so afraid.
So you ran away?
Yes. One night we go on a boat for England. But we know Georgiano will follow us when he finds out. My Geno, he hide me where I will be safe. He knows Georgiano will come, and he waits for him outside. Tonight he arrives at last. But my Geno is ready. He is prepared to kill him. Oh, he is a hero, my Gennaro.
I don't know what the British point of view will be, but I imagine that in New York, this lady's husband will receive a pretty general vote of thanks.
Oh, I think we can arrange the British point of view, Watson. Scotland Yard has been on the lookout for this Georgiano since they heard he had landed. Mr. Luca has just taken a little bit of work, that's all. And now, Mrs. Luca, if you'll come with me, I believe we can arrange matters satisfactorily.
Gracias, senor, gracias. I'm so happy.
Well, it's been an interesting case, Holmes, but I still can't for the life of me see what you expect to get out of it.
Education, Watson, a little more education. Always seeking knowledge at the old university. In just a moment, Dr. Watson will be back to tell us about next week's story. Ladies and gentlemen, when colds are prevalent, act wisely. Don't neglect the cold. Rest and avoid exposure. Remember, if neglected, even a so-called light cold may lead to more serious illness. But if a cold attacks with its headache, pain, nasal distress, and fever, take bromoquinine cold tablets. They go right to work to help relieve the usual miseries of a cold. They're specialized medication, and they work internally. They bring prompt relief, grateful relief, and they are time-proven. They're known and sold everywhere to help relieve the common discomforts of cold. Yes, you can take them with confidence. So when you have the usual symptoms of a cold, get busy and take bromoquinine cold tablets. Use only as directed, and be sure to get the real thing. Look for the letters LBQ on the tablet, and always ask for them by name. Bromo, B-R-O-M-O. Quinine, Q-U-I-N-I-N-E. Bromoquinine cold tablets. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Well, next week I think I'll tell you an adventure that took me on a wild goose chase halfway across the continent of Europe. A case which Holmes solved by opening a coffer.
You have been listening to a Sherlock Holmes adventure adapted from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Adventure of the Red Circle, with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. The dramatization was by Edith Miser, musical interludes composed and conducted by Lou Tosloff. This program is presented from Hollywood each week at this time by the makers of bromoquinine cold tablets, prompt relief for cold distress. This is not Manning speaking. Christmas seals are the stamps that help fight tuberculosis. Your contribution to the health and strength of our nation. Buy your Christmas seals today. This is the Red Network of the National Broadcasting Company.